Hello and welcome. I want you to just take a moment right now, wherever you are, to just settle in. Maybe you're in your favorite comfortable chair. Maybe you have a warm drink with you. Just take a deep breath because today isn't about rushing. It's not about memorizing lists or stressing over grammar rules. Today, on this special session of Fluent Mindcast, we are going to take a deep dive into something really gentle and, well, surprisingly powerful.
That's exactly right. It's so good to be here. Usually when we do a deep dive, we're, dissecting these really complex systems, looking at hard data. And we do have the science today. We're definitely going to get into some cognitive science, some linguistics. But the vibe is different.
It feels different already.
Yeah. Our goal for this deep dive is to explore the art of passive listening. We really want to be a supportive guide for you, the learner, who wants to feel more confident understanding the English you hear every day, even when you're not fully focused on it.
And I have to admit, when I first looked at the stack of research for this, I was I was skeptical.
I can imagine.
I mean, the art of passive listening, it sounds a bit like, the art of getting fit while eating pizza on the couch.
Right.
We're always told learning takes, blood, sweat, and tears. You have to focus. You have to study hard, strain your ears. But the research we're looking at today suggests there's another way, a quieter way. Is this actually real? Or is it just wishful thinking?
It is absolutely real. And what's interesting is it's actually how your brain prefers to learn a language. The whole philosophy here is what we're calling the English around you every day.
Okay.
The idea is that English is so often present in our lives, in the background of a movie you have on while cooking, a song in a cafe.
Those short videos you scroll past on your phone?
Exactly. Even when we aren't actively studying.
But for a lot of people, and maybe for you listening right now, that background sound doesn't feel like learning. It just feels like noise.
It does at first.
Yeah, just a wall of sound. How does hearing noise actually help me learn anything?
Because your brain is a statistical learning machine. Even when you think you're ignoring it, your brain is quietly listening. It's picking up on patterns. It's calculating probabilities. It's noticing which sounds tend to go together. We call it latent learning.
Latent learning. So learning that's happening, underneath the surface?
Exactly. It's hidden. And that's really the mission of our deep dive today. We want to explore how the brain quietly learns even when we think we're just hearing noise. And a huge part of that is lowering the pressure. Because when you remove that need to understand every single word, something magical happens.
Is that?
The anxiety just drops. And in linguistics, we talk about something called the affective filter.
The affective filter?
Yeah. When your anxiety is high, that filter goes up, and new language input still sort of bounces right off your brain. But when you relax, the filter comes down, and the language can actually get in.
I love that image. Just bring the filter down. So let's start there. Let's unpack this idea of the invisible classroom, this general passive exposure. The source material describes this shift in perspective where, at first, English in the background feels foreign. You can't get into it. But then over time, it changes.
It does. And this goes right back to how we acquire our first language. Think about a baby. A baby doesn't sit down with grammar books.
No.
A baby is in a silent period for a year, maybe 2 years, just listening. They are bathing in the data. They're just letting the sounds of the language wash over them until the patterns start to emerge.
But as adults, we try to skip that step, don't we? We want to speak immediately. We want to understand right now.
Precisely. We force it. And that force creates tension. The research shows that when adults allow themselves to have a kind of silent period where they just let the language exist around them without analyzing it, they have these sudden aha moments later on.
Yeah.
They'll suddenly recognize phrases they never formally studied.
Like that feeling of, wait a minute, how did I know that phrase?
Exactly that. How do I know that sounds good is the right thing to say here?
Yeah.
You know it because you heard it 500 times in the background of your favorite show while you were folding laundry. You didn't study it. You absorbed it.
I love that phrase from the research. You are simply allowing the language to exist around you. It sounds so peaceful. But okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Please.
If I'm just allowing it to exist, am I really learning or am I just getting used to the noise? Is there a difference?
You're doing both. And that's the point. You're bathing your brain in the patterns. English has a specific music, a certain rhythm, a frequency of sounds. When you listen passively, there's no test, there's no pass or fail. You're just training your brain to recognize the shape of the language.
The shape of it.
Yeah. So English slowly transforms from being this foreign code into just a familiar presence.
Yeah.
It stops triggering your fight or flight response.
That makes so much sense. So, if you're listening to us right now and you sometimes feel overwhelmed by how fast English can seem or just how much there is to learn, just remember that your brain is doing work in the background. It's like downloading a large file on your computer while you're doing something else.
That's a great analogy.
The download is still happening. You can trust the process.
Absolutely. And to help that download along, we're going to look at some of the specific elements of this background English. We won't just talk about theory. We're going to break down the actual rhythm, the sounds, the flow that you hear every single day.
Okay, let's move into our second part then, which is all about the rhythm of conversation. The material calls this short phrases that stick without effort. And, these are the words that my high school English teacher absolutely hated.
Oh, I can imagine which ones.
She called them garbage words, the ums, the likes, the you knows. She said if we used them, we sounded unintelligent. But the research here says something very, very different.
Yes, because your teacher was teaching you formal written English. We're talking about real spoken English. In linguistics, we don't call them garbage words. We call them discourse markers, and they are essential. We're talking about phrases like, I mean, or kind of.
I mean, kind of. They're everywhere. If you listen to an interview or just two friends talking, these words are the glue holding the whole thing together.
They are the lubrication of conversation. And to a beginner, they can sound like meaningless noise. You might try to translate,
Yeah.
literally, and get confused because the person isn't actually asking if you know something.
Right.
They're just keeping the rhythm going. They're holding the floor while they think.
The sources point out a really fun curiosity here. Native speakers use these more when they're relaxed or thinking out loud. So if you hear a lot of these, it's actually a sign the conversation is natural. It's not robotic.
Exactly. If you speak without them, you can sound like you're reading a prepared speech. You sound a little stiff. These phrases carry emotional tone. They signal a pause for thought, or they soften a statement. And here's the best part for the passive listener. You don't need to memorize them. You just need to get used to the sound of them.
Okay, let's try something. Let's make this tangible. We can do a little listening practice right now. So for you listening, just relax. Don't worry about spelling. Don't worry about grammar. Just listen to the rhythm. I'm going to say a simple sentence with kind of.
Go for it, nice and slow.
It's kind of cold today.
Listen to how that flows together. It becomes it's kind of cold today.
Right. It's not. It is kind of cold. It's kind of cold today.
Now let's try, I mean. You hear this all the time when someone wants to explain something a bit more or maybe correct themselves.
I mean, it's okay.
Listen to that beat. It's okay. Notice how I mean is almost like a little startup sound for the rest of the sentence.
Yeah, it is. If you can, wherever you are, try just saying that softly. I mean, it's okay. Don't worry about perfect pronunciation. Just feel that rhythm.
By letting these little phrases become familiar, they stop being obstacles. You stop getting stuck on I mean and trying to translate it, and you just ride the wave to the important part of the sentence.
That leads us perfectly into the next section, which I think is one of the most important parts of this whole idea. It's about the music of the language. The source talks about reductions and sound patterns, and this is where things get a little technical, but in a really cool way.
It is cool. The title in the source is Common English Sounds Your Brain Learns First. And this connects to a huge concept in linguistics. English is a stress-timed language.
Okay, unpack that for me. Stress-timed. What does that mean?
It means that the rhythm of English is based on stress, not on syllables. So in languages like, say, Spanish or Japanese, every syllable gets roughly the same amount of time, ... But in English, we only stress the important words, the nouns, the verbs, and we crush the unimportant words into these tiny, fast sounds.
We crush them. I like that description. And that's why English can sound so fast to learners, right? We're just rushing to get to the next important stressed word.
Exactly. And that crushing is what creates reductions. Words like gonna, wanna, and kinda, these aren't just lazy slang. They're the natural result of the stress-timed nature of English.
So when I see gonna in a movie subtitle or something, it's not actually bad English.
No, not at all. It's efficient English. It's about conserving energy. It's physically a bit difficult to say, I'm going to go to the store very quickly. With a lot of mouth movement. I'm going to go to the store is smooth. It flows.
But learners are so often taught the rigid way first. I am going to, and then they hear I'm gonna in the real world and they panic.
They do. But here's the expert insight. Your brain learns the sound pattern before it understands the complex meaning. If you listen passively, you hear gonna thousands of times. Your brain just registers it as a single chunk that means future.
So when you're listening passively and you hear these sounds, you don't need to break down the grammar. Just recognize the sound. It's the music.
And let's introduce a very special sound here. It's actually the most common sound in the English language. It's called the schwa.
The schwa. It sounds like a monster from a movie.
It's a very gentle monster. It's just that relaxed sound. It's the sound your mouth makes when it's doing absolutely nothing. And it's everywhere in these reductions.
Okay, let's do another little practice moment here.
Yeah.
And I want to reassure you, listening right now, you don't need to explain this. Just let your ears catch it. Let's try gonna.
Listen for that schwa sound. It's not going to, it's gonna.
I'm gonna go.
Hear how I'm and gonna just blend. I'm gonna go.
Okay.
It's almost one sound.
Now let's try wanna.
Do you want to eat?
You want to eat? Yeah, it's almost like one long word. Do you want to eat?
That's the music. And over time, by simply hearing this again and again in movies or songs, your brain trains your ear to process wanna as a single unit. It becomes less intimidating. You stop hearing 4 separate words and you start hearing one clear idea.
Speaking of hearing things repeatedly, let's talk about where we actually hear this stuff. The source material has a great section on learning through entertainment.
This is always the favorite part for learners. We're looking at 2 main areas here: background movies and TV series and music.
Okay, let's start with movies. The scenario the text describes is so relatable. You have a movie on while you're cooking or cleaning. You're not sitting on the couch with a notebook. You're chopping vegetables.
And that is a perfect environment for this.
Yeah.
Because you cannot understand full sentences if you aren't paying full attention. And that's okay. The goal here is not to follow the plot.
I think that's where people get frustrated. They think, oh, I missed that dialogue. I'm failing.
No, you're just sampling. The goal is to catch specific words. Maybe a name, maybe an emotion, maybe a repeated phrase like watch out or I love you.
Right. And because you're not trying to translate every word, your brain is free to focus on the intonation. You can hear the rise and fall of the voice. You hear the anger, the joy. And the source mentions a great little curiosity here about subtitles.
Oh, yes. It says that even if you have subtitles on in your native language, it can still help your brain connect the English sound to the meaning.
Really? Because usually teachers say, turn off the native subtitles, English only.
For active study, yes. But for this kind of low-stress, passive listening, native subtitles are fine because you read the meaning in your language and at the same time you hear the English sound. Your brain builds a little bridge. You read be careful in your language and you hear watch out in English. The connection is made.
So it's about building those small wins. It validates that you can hear things even if it's not everything.
Exactly.
Now, what about music? I feel like music is a universal teacher. I can still remember lyrics from songs I heard as a kid.
It absolutely is. The research says music is one of the most powerful ways to absorb English without analyzing it. And the key is what they call the earworm effect.
The earworm, that song you just can't get out of your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Melody acts as a carrier for language. It's a natural mnemonic device. The rhythm and the rhyme help your brain hold onto the words. You might be singing along to a chorus without knowing exactly what every word means, but you're practicing pronunciation. You're practicing the rhythm.
And you're practicing the linking sounds. Singers are always linking words to fit the beat, all the wannas and gonnas and lemmies.
Yes. And the text makes a great point that this allows English to become emotional, not just intellectual. It makes the language feel alive. Language isn't just a code to decipher. It's how we express feeling. When you connect English to the emotion of a song, you anchor it so much deeper in your memory. You remember how the words felt.
Moving from movies and music to something we all have in our pockets, let's talk about the digital world. The source material discusses English in short online videos and clips.
This is a very modern form of passive listening, for sure. We're talking about scrolling through social media, TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. These are quick bursts of content.
Yeah, often just a few seconds long. A single sentence, maybe a joke or a reaction. Why is this so effective?
A couple of reasons. First, visual priming. Usually in these short videos, the visual tells you exactly what's happening before anyone even speaks. You see a cat about to knock over a vase, then you hear the owner say something. Your brain is already primed for the context.
So you don't need to know the words to know what's going on?
Exactly. And second, repetition. The text mentions a really fun detail. The same trending phrases appear again and again across different platforms.
Oh, the memes. The audio trends.
Yes. You might hear the same little audio clip, maybe from a reality show or a movie used in 50 different videos by different people. By the 10th time you hear it, you know the rhythm, you know the intonation, you probably even understand the joke without ever looking up the words. It's basically a spaced repetition system, a really effective study technique, but it's disguised as entertainment.
That is fascinating. So you're actually studying high-frequency phrases just by, procrastinating on your phone.
As long as the content is in English, yes. And often, there's text on the screen captions that match what's being said. So you're getting visual and audio reinforcement at the same time.
It just turns English into something familiar and approachable. It's not a long, scary lecture. It's a 5-second clip of a dog doing something funny with a voiceover saying, "What are you doing?" You learn, "What are you doing?" instantly.
And that brings us to how we actually connect with people. Language is ultimately about connection. The next part of our deep dive focuses on the language of connection, specifically politeness and questions.
This is such a crucial area for passive listening because these are the phrases you hear in the real world constantly. Let's look at polite English first. Words like, "thank you, sorry, excuse me, no problem." You hear these in shops, in games, in cafes. But the source material says something important here. The tone is often more important than the word itself.
That's a key cultural note. English politeness is very pitch-dependent. It relies on intonation. If you say the word sorry with a hard, flat tone, it doesn't sound polite at all. It can sound sarcastic or even angry.
Like, "sorry."
Exactly. That sounds defensive. But if you say it softly, with a little curve in your voice, sorry, it carries the cultural meaning of apology.
So as a listener, you're not just listening for the vocabulary. You're tuning your ear to the melody of politeness.
Exactly that. Don't just listen for the words, excuse me. Listen for how the pitch goes up at the end, excuse me, or how it softens. Excuse me. That implies you're interrupting someone gently.
Let's try to hear that softness. I'll say, "no problem." This is a phrase that sometimes confuses learners because it sounds negative.
But listen to the tone.
No problem.
See, it's breezy, it's light, no problem. The melody is what tells you you're welcome.
And then we have familiar questions. These are the questions that just repeat everywhere. "What do you think? How about you? Are you okay?"
These questions are the glue of conversation. They invite connection. And what's interesting is they're very flexible. The text points out they don't need perfect grammar to be effective.
Right. "You okay" is just 2 words, but it clearly means, "are you feeling all right?"
Precisely. And if you're listening to a conversation, even if you're not in it, maybe you're listening to a podcast or just overhearing people, hearing these questions helps you understand the structure. You hear a question, you expect an answer. It's like a game of catch.
The source says that just recognizing these questions is a huge step toward comfort. Even if you don't have to answer, just knowing that a question was asked makes you feel more oriented.
It signals to your brain, okay, it's the other person's turn to speak now. You start to feel the rhythm of turn-taking. This is what we call pragmatic competence, understanding the social rules of a language, not just the grammar rules.
And that leads us to probably the biggest tool in the whole passive listening toolkit. The source material calls this English you understand through context.
Context is the greatest teacher. This whole section is about the fact that it is possible to understand meaning without knowing every single word.
I think we forget this sometimes. We get so hung up on the one word we didn't understand. We get stuck on it, and we miss the fact that we actually understood the whole situation.
Right. We call this bottom-up processing versus top-down processing.
Yeah.
Bottom-up is trying to build meaning from every single tiny word. Top-down is looking at the big picture, the situation, the body language, and guessing the meaning.
And we want to encourage top-down processing here.
Absolutely. If you see someone outside shivering, rubbing their arms, and they say something that sounds like Brett freezing, you might not know the word freezing, but the context, the shivering, the rubbing arms, the tone of voice, it tells you exactly what they mean. They're cold.
The text compares this to how children learn language.
Yes. Babies don't have dictionaries. They don't have grammar apps. They learn almost entirely through context. They watch their parents' faces. They look at what their parents are pointing at. They listen to the tone.
And the really reassuring message here is that adults can do this too. We haven't lost that ability. In fact, we're probably better at it because we have so much life experience.
We do. We just suppress it sometimes because we want to be analytical. We want to be perfect. We want to be right. But if you allow yourself to just relax, to stop analyzing, and just use your intuition, your understanding grows so much more naturally. You let the tone and the situation fill in the gaps.
So trust your gut. If you think someone is angry from their tone, they probably are, even if you didn't catch the specific word they use.
Exactly. The context is providing the meaning for you. The words are just the details.
Wow. We've covered so much ground today. From the invisible classroom of background noise and the science of latent learning, to the rhythm of those garbage words that are actually really important discourse markers. We talked about the schwa sound, the efficiency of gona and wana, and the emotional power of music.
It really is a comprehensive look at how language actually gets into the brain. It's not always through the front door of active study. Sometimes it just comes in through the window of passive listening.
And that brings us to our final thought for the day, the transformation. The source material describes this specific moment when English stops feeling foreign.
This is a beautiful concept. It describes this shift when English stops sounding strange and just starts to feel calm.
Calm. I love that word for this.
It's the opposite of stress. You might not understand everything. You might still miss 50% of the words. But the sound itself feels familiar. It feels like it belongs in your world. It becomes part of the soundtrack of your life rather than an intruder.
The brain loves familiarity more than perfection.
It really does. The more you hear English casually, while you cook, while you walk, the more natural it feels. And when it feels natural, your confidence grows. You stop panicking when you hear it. You start to lean in. You start to, in a way, simulate a bilingual life before you're even fully bilingual.
So our final reassurance to you, listening right now, is this. Understanding begins with hearing comfortably, not perfectly.
Passive listening is a valid, powerful way to let that confidence grow. You are doing important work just by listening to this. You are doing work by keeping the radio on. You're lowering that filter, and you're letting the language in.
We want to thank you so much for spending your time with us today on Fluent Mindcast. We really hope this Duck Dive has helped you see your daily listening in a new, calmer light.
Indeed. We want this channel to be a safe, welcoming space for your real-life English practice.
So please continue letting English exist in the background of your life. Let it be there. Let it be the music of your day. You might just be surprised at how much you learn when you feel like you aren't even trying.
It was a real pleasure exploring this with you.
Until next time, keep listening. Goodbye.